Hey, everybody. Thanks for checking in our latest Trade of Black podcast. I'm your host, Shad Dales. Big interview here today. A lot of you have reached out over the last few months. When can we get on the new CEO of Canopy Growth, Luc Mongeau? Well, today is your day as we welcome in him and basically ask questions on what his vision is for the company moving forward and what are some notable changes that he's already implemented, knowing it's been 5 months since November 26th since he was named as the new CEO of Canopy Growth. So with that, let's dive into today's podcast. And first, welcome in Mr. Anthony Varrell. Good to see you.
How's it going?
Good. This should be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be good to dive in and get an about face on the future for Canopy's vision, or the future vision for Canopy.
Yep, same company name, but a new company face. So let's welcome in the new CEO, Luc Mongeau, to the podcast for the first time. Good to see you, sir. How are things?
Hey, excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, appreciate you being on here. We've had a lot of people reach out over the last few months asking about, when are you going to have Canopy on? And today's their lucky day. But I was saying off the top, it was November the 26th where the press release came out that you were named as the new CEO. Where does time go? It's already been 5 months, but that's the world that we live in now for sure, as time just seems to go by quicker and quicker. But if you had to assess everything in the first 5 months, I know there's a lot of moving parts and it's a broad question, but if you could sum it up in a few words, how would you best describe your first 5 months being the CEO?
Yeah, I've been on board in the position for just over 3 months now. And if I had to summarize it in one word, is energized and optimistic.
Okay.
I took the job because I don't shy away from big challenges. Canopy has the scale, the complexity. Let's be honest, not all the odds are stacked in Canopy's favor. I don't shy away from big challenges. I'm not a status quo person and leader. And the first 3 months, it's been a journey of amazing discovery. And there's a lot of very strong elements within Canopy that can build the right foundation for successes for many years to go. And it's been, I spent my first 3 months meeting as many stakeholders as possible across Canada, whether it's people working in our greenhouses or it's our, our partners, our customer partners, the boards, it's suppliers, or whether it's in Germany or talking with our team in Australia or visiting our investment in the US. All the elements are there to ensure a great future for Canopy. It will require a bit of work, a bit of realignment, a bit of focus, but the elements are there.
Well, I like what you said off the top. You don't hear that too often, Anthony, when you have new CEOs come in and say, hey, the odds are stacked against us. There's some great assets. And I think the one thing that hasn't changed is that investor sentiment is they really want this story to succeed and win, because there's a lot of moving parts, but there's some really interesting moving parts that still lie ahead. So being 3 months from an operational standpoint, like what were some of the first areas that you felt needed to be cleaned up when you look at the role now as the CEO? What were the first couple of things that you noticed this needs to change?
Yeah, for me, the priority is very simple. Is positive adjusted EBITDA. We need to get there now. So, it's really rallying the organization around the importance of that. The easiest win for an organization is always to go back to the fundamentals. What are the critical few things that will make a huge difference? Do we understand where the margin, the value creation exists? Where do we make money? Where are we losing money? Where are the resources very well deployed to great returns? Where are we wasting our time or working on distraction? So, I've been working with the team on really aligning commercial priorities with the operations. And let's be honest, there was a certain disconnect. Been focusing the organization as well, trying with the best of intentions to move the needle, but on working on too many projects, trying to participate in every single niche or segments in the market to average results. So, really focusing on the fundamentals here and going after the big partition and where the profits lay in the market. And it's a recipe I've used many times over my career to great results, whether it was at Procter and Gamble, at Mars, or at George Weston Limited. I mean, these fundamentals, they work.
Yeah.
Under your predecessor, we saw Canopy fundamentally change. We had CUSA come online. The European market started to catch fire. Australia is becoming very dominant on the global stage. And we've also seen a resurgence in the domestic market in Canada in terms of pricing for flower. Where do those align, I guess, in terms of priority as far as your strategy moving forward to, let's say, align the company to get it towards positive EBITDA and profitability?
Yeah, I mean, we'll share more on this at our next quarterly release on May 30th. But think of the business. And for me, I look at medical, both global and Canadian, and then in both markets, we've got some really good assets. We're very well deployed when it comes to resources. When you look at the Canadian medical market, we've got a really solid integration with our clinics. We've built very solid distribution networks where we can delight the patients constantly, and this is a machine that's well oiled. You know what I mean? So you can expect that we're going to add more fire there. You look at our Storz & Bickel business. I mean, the leading provider of premium vaporizer unit. Again, an amazing business, a beautiful brand, very solid organization. And there it's about how do we continue the cadence of innovation to allow us to grow the business as it's done in recent years. The Canadian rec, I mean, we've suffered in the Canadian rec business, but we're committed to it. It is whatever you say about the market, whether it's stagnating, is there growth or not. It is a big market.
Yeah, it is.
Lots of profits, and there's enough room for a player like us, focused with a superior understanding of where the money is, where do we have the perfect marriage of opportunities in the market and our capabilities to win. And that's what we're working on right now, really refining our aim, going from this to this in terms of portfolio to do this, and going after where the profit pools are in a way that we can delight the Canadian consumers at the same time.
Yeah. So a couple of things that we've learned in a few conversations is that the Canadian market, actually, there was an oversupply for a number of years, but it's the complete opposite now. And a lot of it has to do with many companies that are focusing on the international market. So there could be some upside potential. So when you look at growth opportunities and that adjusted EBITDA that you've highlighted, I know Anthony was basically outlining a number of things, but what would you say is, I guess, the most important, or I should say, the biggest short-term opportunity that you can capitalize on right now moving forward?
Yeah, well, the global medical market is the outstanding opportunity that everybody's going after right now. For us,
smart too. Yeah.
Yes, we're going after that. We've been going after that for a number of years, but let's go after it in a way that is sustainable, because we know these things. There's peaks and then things come back down. How do we leverage and take advantage of these peaks, and at the same time build the capabilities that will allow us to have a sustainable business long term with higher margins? So, we used to have a strategy that was asset light, and that strategy was necessary because we had way too many assets. Now we're at a place where we've adjusted the asset base, and let's be asset right, and that's what we're evaluating right now to ensure we put in place the right assets to build value for quarters and years to come.
Yeah.
We saw another tranche of debt retired. I think it was last month via the press release. How imperative and how important is shoring up the balance sheet and delevering the balance sheet and bringing it towards, let's say, neutral leverage? How big of a priority is that within your tenure of coming into leadership within the company?
Listen, I'm going to be consistently boring here. And the priority is positive adjusted EBITDA and free cash flow generation. I worked for many organizations that prided themselves, over the course of my career, I worked for many organizations who prided themselves in their financial freedom, freedom to control your destiny, freedom to do the investment that would create generational value. So for us, it's extremely important that we shore up the balance sheet to allow us to build our ambitions and to realize our ambitions. So we recently paid another tranche of $100 million US debt that reduced the interest charge by about $13 million US, which is pretty sizable. If you look at our last quarterly release, you can do some math there. So it is quite sizable, and this goes a long way in helping us reach a financial situation where will allow us to dream of a future.
How are you looking at the Canadian market? We've seen a resurgence in medical. We've seen a stabilization of rec. We've seen some consolidation with some of your peers purchasing companies to gain a form factor within their portfolio to dominate a category. Are you kind of taking a holistic approach and looking at the overall CGC portfolio right now in the Canadian market, and then rationalizing SKUs and then looking to different form factors to start to dominate different categories? Or how are you looking at that? How are you looking at the Canadian market strategically?
Yeah, I mean, I think you laid it out extremely well there. So for us, we're in the process of a SKU portfolio optimization. As I said earlier, we tried to play everywhere with the best of intentions, and what ended up happening, we spread our effort too thin. So you can expect from us a rationalization of the portfolio to go deeper in areas of great potential. Although the Canadian market is stabilizing, you saw the report that came out this morning. Pre-roll joints, for example, a fast-growing category, even infused or growing faster. You saw our recent launch of Claiborne this past November. The brand quickly rose to the top podium of the subcategory, which is really strong testament to the capabilities, the intrinsic capabilities of Canopy, of their ability to market, launch, distribute, and get trial and purchase of new products. So you can see us being much more precise about what we do after in the Canadian rec business, and you'll see us continuing to really be dedicated to the Canadian medical business.
Well, one thing that we've learned, we were in Washington a couple of weeks ago, and it's incredible to see what's going on in Europe and the backing of certain countries. But have you been paying attention to what's going on in Germany? They obviously reviewed the current medical program and recreational pilot program, kept everything in place. We've had a few guests on in the past that talk about just the growth since April of 2024 to where we are now. But you guys have made some announcements about the German market. Clearly, this is something you guys are paying close attention to. And like you said, some of the short-term catalysts that you think focusing on is the European market, but it's incredible to see, is it not, as far as the growth?
Yeah, it is. It is really amazing to see this growth, and frankly, it talks about the potential and the power of the plant. And for us, I mean, when we see the markets opening up in the right fashion, I mean, it's the consumers in the end that benefits. I was in Germany about 4 weeks ago working with the teams in the trenches there. We've got solid operation. We've got a solid distribution team. We're making investment in our facility over there, simplifying our supply chain, further integrating with our growth facilities, and we're really poised to take even greater benefit of these growing markets.
Yeah. Especially when you think about the amount of export numbers that has grown substantially from Canada into Europe over the past year or so. But a couple other CEOs in the space, other Canadian LPs, have talked about how this is a right opportunity for a lot of the Canadian LPs to seize this opportunity and to really expand and in some ways alleviate the pressure from the current excise tax. But outside of Germany, is there any other markets that interest you pertaining to the EU?
Well, I mean, the focus right now for us is really to optimize Germany. So of course,
Yep.
of course we keep an eye on other markets that are either about to open or just open. We're making sure that we get either the right distribution deals in place or our teams in place. But the focus right now is really taking full
Yeah.
advantage of the German development.
We've seen we've seen ebbs and flows in the cannabis industry now. I've been in this industry for the last 10 years. Canopy's been a household name pretty much that entire time. How do you want your tenure CEO of the business to be defined when it's when it's all said and done?
Yeah, for me, it's I see this as we're writing the next chapter of the very colorful story
Yeah,
of Canopy. And
good way to put it.
I go back to my experience. I've worked for blue chip uh, companies. I worked for Procter
Mhm.
Gamble.
Yeah.
I worked for Mars. I worked for George Weston Limited.
It's great
Companies,
companies.
absolutely. Companies who are very disciplined, that focus on the fundamentals, that do the right investment, that pay off for quarters and years to come. So
Mhm.
for me, I'm taking the great work that was done by my predecessor and his predecessor, and really making sure that we once and for all established the right foundations. We're extremely selective. We're focusing the organization, and we're putting in place the right strategy, the right structure. We have the right people, the right brands for value creation for years to come. And
Okay.
it is a bit of a let's focus on the fundamentals and let's build a foundation, the solid foundation for years of growth.
So would you best describe that's what you execute best is just overall execution, getting rid of a lot of overhead costs and really maximizing uh, execution as much as possible? Because I've lived in Toronto for a number of years. I worked for big corporations, Bell Canada, and it's just like people with your types of background. This is what you specialize in, and really what this story needs right now to get it to the forefront. Because to Anthony's point, it is a household name within the cannabis industry. So I guess how does some of the experience that you have translate in? Because I know you've been a board member for a couple of years, but how does that experience translate into the opportunity it now presents for you?
Yeah, listen, I've worked in. I'm repeating myself here. For me, it's really leverage what I've learned into building strong culture, empowered team, focused strategies, winning at retail. I come from
Yep.
an organization, on Mars Chocolate or Mars Pet Care, we had retail machines that would
Mhm.
just win at retail with superior processes to ensure that the right products were always in stock and that consumers were pretty much tripping on them at retail. And we know an organization where there are multiple players, there's bound to be some consolidation at one point, and the organization that are well financed, that have a solid balance sheet, that generate the right cash
Yep.
flows, that are focused, and that execute well on the fundamentals, those are the ones that are going to win.
Well said.
Yeah.
I know you got a lot of work ahead of you, but
It's a lot of fun.
yeah, that's the
Yeah.
thing. This is the cannabis industry, and it's still brand new for the most of it. But we look back at some of this. There's been a lot of change, obviously, with this company. You date back to what was it, 2018 or 2019, Anthony, when Constellation signed the $5 billion check. Have you had many conversations with management there and what their views are in the space right now?
Yeah, I mean the our board is extremely supportive of what we're uncovering and where we're starting to shift the organization, and we'll share more of that on
Yep.
May 30th. The board is aligned. The board is supportive. We've had multiple internal communications this week and last at all levels of management and operation in the organization. This is a team that's resilient, not only resilient, that's a team that's passionate and engaged. And I'm extremely confident that we will be able to create amazing things and write amazing next chapter for Canopy.
It's good. I know you probably indirectly answered this question, but I'll ask this one last time, but I'll leave it off at this. What do you think the lessons are learned most about Canopy in the past and the opportunities it now presents moving forward for you based off of those experiences?
Yeah, the lessons are multiple, but it goes back to the power of focus. And there's
Okay.
underneath everything that's happened at Canopy, as I said at the beginning, there are nuggets in this organization. And right now, all that needs to happen is to synchronize the work of hundreds of people in this organization, synchronize, align commercial activities with operational activities, and usually that results in superior value creation.
Well, all the best to you. And I take it in a couple of years, like if the Leafs don't win the cup there in your hometown of Toronto, you could probably apply some of that execution with them. But I know it's probably the best time of the year to be in the city of Toronto, which is the spring, because it's playoff hockey. So I hope you guys have some success. But history has not shown that. But more importantly, great to finally meet you. And I know this is probably a process and a shift in how this company is going to be moving forward, and a lot of changes that are being implemented. But we wish you nothing but the best and the best of luck. And more importantly, let's keep in touch. Okay.
Thank you very much. Have a great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Luc. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for watching our latest podcast. What'd you all think? Is there any information that we're missing? Is there anything you want us to cover? As these industries heat up, we're getting access to more and more big hosts. So let us know the questions that you want us to ask for you. As usual, smash that like button. We want this to go viral. Click on that bell for all notifications for the latest interviews that we're doing. And as usual, let's build this community. Subscribe to our channel because we appreciate it, because we wouldn't be here without you. Thanks for watching, everyone.